Hi, welcome to Momentous Live, episode 34. And we're 3/4 here while some of us are going to, go get water. Who could that be? Who could that mystery person be?
Yeah.
If you can't read, then you have no idea. So in the meantime, hey, Tasia, how's it going? Nice to have you back again. You teased us a couple of weeks ago and you're like back, and then last week, gone again. So
Sorry,
I think
guys.
what's happening here
It's
is
just
I think what's happening here is that we can't have you and Jamie in the same space at the same time.
see,
the same
it's true.
person?
He's not there.
Oh, look, there he is. He decided to
Oh.
show up. Hi.
Oh, hi.
We're live.
We're live, just so you know.
I was here the whole time. I don't know what you're worried about.
How do you do that? Mr. Phase shifting. Anyhow, so, yes.
I'm Jamie Reynolds.
Yes,
Yeah.
Jamie Reynolds. And so to one side of me, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Oh, hello, that's me. I'm Tasia Custodi.
And below her is,
William Silver.
that's right, with the jazz
Jazz hands.
And I'm Tristan Jutrow. Again, Momentous Live, episode 34. We've said that. Let's just jump right in, shall we? I know some people have a hard stop at 8 p.m. Pacific. Tasia, are you on Mountain Time right now? What's okay? And does that
Correct,
change
but it is
when
the
daylight
same-
savings ends? Are you going to
No.
be or
We
no? You're
don't-
the same now.
We don't do daylight saving time. So right
Okay.
now we're the same as Pacific.
We're the same. Oh, I see. Gotcha.
But then when you guys fall back, I will still be the same.
Fantastic. Well, with with you in mind, here's our first story: 2023 Corvette Z06, or here in Canada, the Z06. First look, the sweet spot. More powerful Corvettes are coming. That's why the Z06 may wind up being our favorite anyway, according to Motor Trend. Now, of course, Tasia, we picked this story just for you, being the official Momentous Corvette correspondent. Now, we touched on this a few months ago, but there's now it's starting to get into the hands of reviewers here. And just very quickly, since this is more of a follow-up than anything, any further thoughts now that you've seen a few more details on this Z06 for 2023, Tasia?
Listen, I've watched a couple reviews, and one of the guys that was, first of all, they've all been men. No offense,
Well,
gentlemen, but
we got to fix that, Tasia.
Corvette, send me one, please. I'm here.
Well, the way you're going lately, I wouldn't put it past you.
I know, but and they were kind of, I don't know if you guys watch any reviews, but they were a little with the handling. They were like, and I thought, really? How could you knock anything about this car? Obviously, I haven't driven it, so I'm just looking at the specs on wheels, and that is what I'm based this review on. But I would like to know, really, that would be the question, would be the handling, because like the complaint that I kept hearing was the steering wheel is like too thick, and like the shape of it is, you can kind of see it in that clip, it's not round. And I guess some of the sports guys that were testing it thought it was a bit awkward to just get their minds around that, because we're so used to round steering wheels. Is that a thing to not get this car? God, look at it, you guys. I'm getting hot. I don't. This is too much. Oh man, look at it.
We're gonna have to change our rating on this show. For
I have to say, it's one of the best looking aesthetic Corvettes I think I've ever seen.
Well, back in the 80s, boy, they had some nice Corvettes. I remember having a poster on my wall. The curves on those things were pretty gorgeous.
Oh.
But this is pretty nice.
Now I have
This
to
is
ask
the
Tasia.
thing that Tristan knows I love, because I once made Tristan hold a camera, a very heavy camera, for like 25 minutes while I was sitting in a Corvette interviewing someone. And it's the lines, it's back to that Stingray model when they redesigned them a few years, I say a few years ago now, but and that's, Jamie, what I loved about it, because it like harkened back to that, but was updated for the time. Oh, it's so slick. Look at it.
Now, Tasia, I've got to ask, how did you come to be a Corvette fan? Did someone in your family, or did a friend have one? Like, where does this come from?
Yeah. Oh, my dad. So he had one like before, the kids were born type thing, and then the kids came. And when we were quite young, he had one as well. Like he had like an orange one, then he had a red one. And He used to drive me to grade school in the red Corvette, and he promised me that he was going to keep that car for me, and we were going to like put bucket seats in the back. Like we were going to do all this crazy shit to it. And no, he got a van.
Yeah. Well,
There
they
you
become
go.
impractical after a while. Quick side story. My mom used to have a Porsche 944. And she had it when I ended up having kids. And she needed to take the kids places, and she had to take them in the Porsche. Well, they don't have very big back seats in those things. So in the end, she took it to get a car seat put in it in the back. Nope. So she had to drive the kids around in the front seat with the car seat back in the day. It's since changed to a Lexus, but yeah, those vehicles aren't real friendly when it comes to family planning.
No, they're not a family car.
Nope.
So don't let a few things like safety or laws, affect, your perceived notions of practicality. Because back in the late 80s, early 90s, my now ex-stepdad, he and my mom, they didn't seem to have a problem when he had it was a late 70s era, the real curvy Corvette Stingray, and getting my two little sisters in the back, not seat, back bench. And I think they actually went across the U.S. border that way more than once as well, too. That was, before they started like paying attention more carefully to child safety.
It was a different time.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So, Tasia, you're definitely putting that one on your Christmas list, I guess.
Yeah, I am fully expecting it. I don't see why not.
All right. Well, moving right along to our next item on the agenda here. Speaking of automobiles, Hertz, remember them? Auto rental company that just happened to go a little bankrupt during the pandemic. Well, they've restructured and have just ordered 100,000 Teslas to build the largest EV rental fleet in the United States. And one of the things that car rental companies are finding is that even if they get other EVs in their fleets, people don't want to drive them. People only want to rent the Teslas. So Hertz is just paying attention to what the market wants here, and doing a bulk order. And this is represents about 10%, I believe, of Tesla's manufacturing capacity for a given year. So, I imagine they'll be taking this order in waves. But it just kind of speaks to what the market is demanding, and especially with the way things are shifting regarding car ownership and whatnot. The popularity of services like Uber and Lyft. There's a lot of people now who maybe realize that they don't want or need to own their own cars anymore, especially when traveling. And it could even be just like a road trip locally. If, a lot of people who live downtown, a lot of new buildings are often built without any parking spots nowadays, which is a huge hassle for people. So maybe a car rental company is an option there. So this is just one little side of the story. And then there's a companion piece that I thought that was kind of interesting. And once we learned that Jamie would be joining us today, he had to include that today, is that that Elon Musk's Boring Company is partnering with the city of Las Vegas to build a series of tunnels underneath the Las Vegas Strip. And there will be a number of Teslas there to drive around this 30-mile long loop under the Strip in Vegas. So I'll start with you, Jamie. With these two stories combined,
Please.
Are you going to be renting a Hertz Tesla and driving around under the Strip? Because we know you like Vegas.
I do like Vegas. Haven't been there in a while, of course, with the pandemic. And but it's they have a temporary tunnel or a test tunnel, I suppose, that goes at the convention center, around the convention center area. And it's been tested. People have tried it and have said, this is stupid. They get in this thing. And first of all, there's a driver in the Tesla, so it's not autonomous yet. Apparently it's going to turn into fully autonomous Teslas driving around. but it's basically just a bunch of cars driving in tunnels underground really slow, and it's very boring. There's nothing to look at. It's you just go from place to place. So I really honestly, I think it's just a PR stunt. I still think that's what it is. It's simply Elon doing what Elon does and saying, hey, yeah, let's take I'm gonna bore a bunch of holes underneath Vegas, video game style, and then put a bunch of my cars in there, and Vegas is just gaudy and garish enough to say, yeah, let's just do that. Let's just make it happen. I just don't see a use case for it with things like Uber and taxis all over the city that do pretty much the same thing, and probably for about the same kind of time frame and same kind of cost. So, but you know what? I don't know. You look at their monorail. They've got a partially or somewhat built monorail. It's gone under. It was a privately built one. It's gone under once or twice at least, and people just don't really use it to make it cost effective. So I just don't see the point.
Didn't Las Vegas watch The Simpsons? I mean, they know.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Monorail.
Now, Jamie, you also have been, like, we've all been to Vegas a number of times. Everyone in this room here.
Yeah.
And would you really want to take a cab on the Strip? You know what traffic's like. Doesn't this seem like the perfect solution? Just avoid the traffic altogether. No matter how slow and boring it is, it's probably still faster.
No. Because I usually, when I go to Vegas now, but back when we were younger and we would walk the Strip like idiots. And now, but most of the time now, when I go with my wife, we'll, if we're going to see a show, we'll just hop in a cab or an Uber, and you don't go on the Strip usually. You're usually going on the back roads, and you get there pretty darn quick, and you get to go in the front entrance, and there's a certain pomp and circumstance to it when you get up to the front entrance and they open the door for you. You go in the front doors. Now you just go in a tunnel and come up an elevator, and you're kind of in the food court in the middle of the hotel, whatever you're going to, in the resort. And that's not Vegas to me. I like going there and sometimes going down the Strip in a cab. I remember doing that a couple of years ago. I was there for the Kitchen and Bath Industry show, and was going down the Strip in a cab, and it was snowing, and that was amazing because it was in January, and it does snow there once in a while. So that was pretty crazy. So I see it as it's a PR stunt, and you know what? Probably a really good one. People are going to just take it for the novelty, but they just put a giant Ferris wheel up there too, and it's just like, this is just kind of crazy. It's just crazy stuff they do there.
Well, the Underground Highway will cover 29 miles and 51 stations along the Boulevard Strip and beyond to the local university campus and NFL stadium, with plans to eventually connect to the airport. So I can see some practicality there. They're saying, the commission is saying that as many as 57,000 people could ride through the tunnels every hour. So that's a heck of a lot of Teslas.
Projected. That's projected. And they'll never go to the airport. It's the same reason the monorail never went to the airport, is because the taxi lobby pushed too hard and it prevented them from going all the way to the airport. It was designed to. So there's a reason that they're doing all these miles of tunnels and they're still not going to the airport. Why do you think that is? It's because it's never going to happen.
Well, they just got to do a deal with the taxi lobby and make all the taxis Teslas, and then we'll figure. Figure that instead of Priuses. I mean, So Will, you like cars. And you've been to Vegas a couple of times at least. So, well, how about you? I mean, are you bored enough of Vegas that you'd rather just like go underground and just get your next stop so you can, find the highest paying video poker?
No, well, first of all, each his own. I don't gamble. It's
Boo.
Yeah, I know. But I can see friends of mine really enjoy it, like you, Jamie, and some other friends, and that's all good. And to Jamie's point, I like going to Vegas for the spectacle. I love seeing the lights. I love the experience. I love Vegas. I've been 4 times, a couple times for work, a couple times for pleasure, and I just enjoy seeing the stuff and the things that they build and the shows and going for dinner with friends and sometimes doing work there as well. But yeah, I think it misses the point of why I would go to Vegas. I don't think I would use the tunnels personally. I like going down the Strip. I like seeing the huge buildings and the huge gaudy billboards and all that stuff. So,
girls.
I'm sure they'll make it gaudy down there.
Oh, yeah. They hand out flyers as
Oh.
I'm going by.
Yeah.
It's Vegas.
Vegas isn't the same without
Mhm.
flyers. Tasha, what are your thoughts on this? You know, again, having been to Vegas a few times yourself, you know, have you been for pleasure, or just for work with me and others?
No, both.
Uh-huh.
But I'm like with Will, where I just go like to see shows or like, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. Like my first question is why? And then my next question would be like, well, cool, I guess? Question mark. Like, I don't know. I like it, the idea of saving time, obviously, because I actually don't care about driving along the Vegas Strip, because once you've been there a bunch of times, it's like, okay. But, and when you want to get somewhere quickly, but I just feel like, why not just make like an underground train? Like, I just don't understand.
They should, they should get Hyperloop in there too. So they got Boring Company, one Musk thing. If they did Hyperloop instead of the Teslas, then you can just like, you know, go in a fraction of the time and be turned into jam.
Hyperloop is not a real thing. That's good. Let's not even get into that one.
I also see this as like just another Vegas thing. Like as
it is, it's just another Vegas thing. Yeah,
a Ferris wheel, like a roller coaster. You can go shoot in the desert. There's Hummers that you can drive over.
Oh, glad you went there with that, Will. Good for you.
Yeah, so all that kind of stuff. I just see this as another attraction, and I mean, I guess maybe they're trying to also see it as some sort of civic economy.
I think
boosting,
you know, part of this is going to be proof of concept as well, in the sense that it's going to take the Boring Company from, hey, this is something that we can do. Look, we have this one tunnel, to look, we can cover a whole city with a bunch of underground tunnels. So for smaller cities, and because Vegas isn't huge, it's a smaller type city. Theoretically, you could take this and then stamp this onto other cities that don't have subway systems or SkyTrain like we have in Vancouver, something like that, and say, look, we've done this in Vegas, proof of concept. Now we can do it in your city and actually make it a viable thing. I think that's really the only reason to do this in Vegas, is because they'll let them do it, and then they can show it to cities around the world, and then actually take the Boring Company and make it a big deal.
Yeah, a lot of these initiatives are definitely, symbolic and, inspiring others to do the same, especially if it can help. Like, I still think there is a legitimate case there to decongest the Strip, because I know I've been to Vegas like 9 times now, and and unlike you, Jamie, I'm not a huge fan. Like I enjoy going to like Consumer Electronics Show, CES, to do what we got to do. It's both the best experience and the worst experience simultaneously, because then you always get the Vegas flu, which is great, especially with our heightened sense of paranoia nowadays about illness. You're on the plane on the way home, you're blowing your nose and it's black. So that's
okay. I'm not sure what part of Vegas you go to, but I've never had this experience.
The tar pits just outside of town, right?
That wasn't cocaine. I don't know what you were talking about.
It's very refined. So
bath salts.
Yeah. So I like the idea of being able to just get somewhere efficiently, especially with certain trade shows where they don't, like, CES has gotten so big over the years, is that not everything is at the Las Vegas Convention Center anymore. They have stuff in hotels all over the place. So if this underground loop would connect these things and you could get from one place to the other more quickly, that would be a godsend. Because
I just don't see this happening. You've got one tunnel with one car at a time driving through this thing at low speeds. I don't understand how this all of a sudden will ease congestion.
It can't be any slower than the Strip.
No, but you don't go down the Strip. This is the whole thing. Again, it doesn't. There's a number of things that. Yeah. But it's still if like Tasia says, if they really wanted to make a people move, they would have made a people move. They would have put a train in and made it happen. So this is just not a real thing. It's just not a real thing.
Well, we'll Jamie, we'll put you in the skeptical column, and we'll see how things.
Momentous should pay me to go down and check it out, and
I was
then
gonna
I can give you a real review.
Yeah. I was actually thinking it'd be fun to do another Momentous trip, and we can all pay for ourselves. So next,
hang on.
Next topic. So the lovely and talented Tasia Custodi, of course, is back with us, and we're going to mix things up a little bit. Because one of her recent projects is a video. She's actually got 2 videos within a week. So we're going to talk about one of them a little bit early since it's especially time sensitive. And that is regarding the Google Pixel 6 Pro that you somehow managed to get your hands on, being an influencer now. So you got on Google's list, and now they're sending you stuff. They're buying your loyalty effectively. So I mean, that's how PR works. So Tasha, first, why don't you tell us how you managed to get Google's attention, and then we can ask you some questions about
trade
Pixel.
secrets.
I'll never tell. No, I'm kidding. I really don't know. I think just from my YouTube channel, and they work with an agency to do all their, marketing outreach and that kind of thing. And a relationship manager from that agency emailed me. This is like a while ago now, a few months back, 6 months. I don't know.
Can you make your voice line up to your lip movements on the main screen? That would be great.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to do it.
So this agency noticed you, yeah, and your efforts.
Yeah. So they, and at first I was like, "What is this?" And then it was a real thing. But they're really, there were no strings attached. A lot of these, a lot of companies will reach out and be like, "We're going to send you a product for you to do a video on it." And I can't put food on my table because you sent me a product. So, but with Google, they were like, we'll send you the 5A. That's how it started, which I also have here. And that was like, I don't know, I think that video went out in August. And so I ended up, of course, doing a video on the camera because it was amazing. And then they reached out to me and they were like, okay, well, we're going to pay you for the video because we want to use a portion of it in some marketing material. And I was
wow.
Oh, that worked out well. Mm-hmm. So that was really cool. And they seemed to be really happy with it. So that was great. So then they sent, once you're part of like Team Pixel, they just send you the newest phones. And so I had a feeling I was going to get that, and kept checking the postal box. Like, and yeah, she came and they even gave a little case, and it came in this cute little box. It was like so sweet. And so I've been running around town like a maniac, testing the camera, because this does not actually come out until the 28th. So today's video was all about the camera features. So it was a total review and camera features. And then Thursday, when this does officially launch, my video on the best Pixel 6 Pro features kind of outside of the camera will also go live on Thursday. Now, that's the long story about this.
Oh, it's okay. We got time. Now, can you just get into very briefly the details of the embargo situation? Because I understand that they only wanted you to talk about certain things before a certain date, and then you could talk about other things after that, and that raised some eyebrows.
Yeah. So after we were told we were getting phones, an email went out that just kind of said, you're under an embargo, and, essentially reply to this email and say you agree, and the embargo will lift like 9 a.m. Pacific on the 25th. But while under the embargo, you were allowed to post say a picture of the device, so like you could put your hand like holding it, or do like an unboxing. There might've been something else you were allowed, but other than that, you pretty much weren't allowed to do like in-depth tech reviews and things like that, which of course, a bunch of people just ignored that embargo. And there were a bunch of full-length reviews, and they will not be working with Google anymore because, so I don't really know why you would do that, because like if the biggest tech company in the world is like, hey, don't talk about it till this day, and then you do. People were pissed, and I don't really understand why, because I have a sneaking suspicion that Apple did the same thing. So Apple doesn't give a lot of product, like notoriously. You have to be like a super big YouTuber influencer. But yesterday, the same day as the Google embargo lifted, all of a sudden, all the influencers were posting their brand new MacBook Pros for 2021, the new AirPods. And so it was like this influx. And so I just thought, and I know a lot of companies that do embargoes. So people were pissed, and there was a theory that, they were hiding, a flaw in the camera system, and that's why they didn't want you to post. You specifically, not just in-depth reviews, you weren't allowed to post photos from the device. So if I took a photo with it and then said, look how great this photo is, you weren't supposed to do that. So this whole conspiracy theory of like, it's because there's these flaws in the camera and they didn't want us to know that till after we bought it, blah, blah, blah. I don't buy it, because guess what? We're still 2 days right now before it even freaking comes out. You didn't have to pre-order it then. You would have just waited till these reviews came out to tell you about an apparent flaw. So I don't really buy the people being upset about it. I don't think it's weird either. I think it's totally normal for a company, but you know me, I'm biased. I love Google.
So the camera can actually shoot it in color, right? It's not just black and white.
Yeah, like, yes. People were so mad, and I was like, what are you? There's just no argument there to me. Like, if this company, also the fact that they gave you this device, like, to thousands and thousands of people, like, just gave it to you, and then you just want to not follow along with their rules. I don't know why you'd piss off Google. I want to keep getting devices. So, like,
well, and that speaks to a larger issue. And we were talking about cars a little earlier, that some reviewers feel that it's hard to be objective when one is receiving products, quote unquote, for free, and sometimes they get sent back, sometimes they don't. But with car reviewers especially, they get flown out for junkets. I've been on one myself, where they fly out to a nice place, apply with food and drinks for a couple of days, and then everyone goes off to write their objective reviews about the Corvette Z06 or what have you. So in your mind, how are you able, especially given that there's a monetary exchange happening here too, not just a product demo, how are you able to maintain objectivity, knowing that Google might have some certain expectations, though, even though it's not explicit?
Yeah, so for me, because I feel the same, and I can't stand watching any quote unquote reviews when, first of all, people don't disclose anything. Not only is it against FTC guidelines, but it's just gross. So, but to your point, anytime anybody reaches out, if I'm interested, my first response is, I always do an honest review. So, like, you can send me it, but I may not like it. Like, I had one company send me a watch once, like a smartwatch. It was awful. It didn't work. And I emailed them and I said, listen, it doesn't do the following things. I don't think you want me making a video on that. I'm just going to send you the watch back. Like, I was like, I don't want to rag on a company. You know what I mean? Like, unless they're jerks. So, I just said, here's what you could improve on. And I kind of more tested it for them and was like, I'll just give this back. But anyway, the greater issue is, for me, I let everybody know all the time in my videos what's happening. So, like, this particular one is not, it was a free product. I wasn't paid to do it. But it's easier to love free things, for sure. And so I try to tell myself that, like, when I'm doing the reviews and stuff like that. And I'm always pretty honest, I think. And I just say, this wasn't that crisp, or this could use a bit of work. But at the end of the day, I just try to look at, how would most users like me use the device? So, like, straight out of the box, or, how easy was it to set up? What is the quality like? And just things like that. And I think people can appreciate that and respond to that. So, like, it's a fine line of me losing my mind and, like, fangirling over it, and also just being like, yeah, it's a device, and there's a couple things I could nitpick. Do you know what I mean?
So, Jamie, you are a longtime Android user, and you've been squarely in the Samsung camp, although not camp, but a Samsung
I have not.
User. Sorry, so camp was the wrong word.
My last two phones have been Samsungs, yes.
Correct.
Yes.
So, as a longtime Android user and a couple of times Samsung user, what kind of questions might you have for Tasia about her experiences with the phone and the specific features that might lead you to consider? I know you're probably not upgrading this year because you just got a new phone in the spring, but if you hadn't, what kind of things are important to you? And maybe throw a question or two Tasia's way.
Tasia, are you allowed to disclose anything about the actual features of anything other than the camera at this point?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's free. It's a fair game now. Okay. Well, I don't really know, because I did watch your video. I was surprised to learn about the number of megapixels in the camera. It's a 50, I think it was. My Samsung is 104. So and there's a 4 times optical zoom in the Google Pro, Google Pixel 6 Pro. My Samsung has 10 optical. So there was some things that I was a bit surprised with about the technology, and this is something that I've noticed Google has done is they don't necessarily push the ends of the technology, but it's the software that really Google wins at. They have, with their machine learning, their AI that they've got built into their Tensor chip seems to be the real winner here, and I was a bit shocked to see at the function of the removing items from a picture function within the phone that you could do was quite dramatic. So it seemed like in your review that you were very impressed with that, and I'm assuming that wasn't just done for effect in the review. This was a legitimate reaction. Is that correct?
Oh gosh, yes. So and back to the cameras. So the 4x optical zoom, they do have the telephoto that they're calling super red zoom, and it goes to 20 times.
Mine goes to 100.
Which is insane, right?
Yeah,
and like the interesting thing, and to talk about Google Tensor for a second, is if you actually look at one of the cameras, the wide angle, they actually went down. So the 5A, I think, was 16 megapixel. On this, it's 12, I believe. And I kind of, not in this video, but in my own, life, was comparing a couple wide shots I took. And because of the computational photography and, and the AI and machine learning, it really is the same. Like the naked eye wouldn't be able to tell when, in my mind, you just blanket say, well, if something's more megapixels, that should be better, So it's really quite something. The Magic Eraser is by far just the complete game changer for me, because kind of something you and I love, Jamie, about Google, and we talked about Google Photos before we went live, that it works across all different platforms. Same kind of thing. Yes, you have to be on the Pixel 6, Pixel 6 Pro, but it works on any photos from any device, whether it was a smartphone, a professional, Sony or Nikon or whatever. It doesn't matter. You can erase objects. And it's mind blowing, because I don't know if you guys have ever tried those apps that are paid apps, by the way, where they always get me on Instagram. Oh, just magically wave your finger and look, there was like a person hanging in a tree and now they're gone. They suck. I honestly have tried the apps, and you can always however the shape is that you draw, that's the jankiness that replaces. It literally replaces your finger pattern. So whereas this, it's a bit more forgiving in that it's not perfect, but even if I kind of miss the bit a little bit, or I don't circle it completely, or I just kind of scribble, it then highlights the section perfectly, like it knew what I was talking about, and pluck, it's gone immediately. So it's, and there's some things I point out in the video where it's not perfect. I could see, grout lines a bit gone if you were, like doing stuff like that. But geez, you'd have to look pretty close. And certain objects are going to be harder for it to remove too. If you have a lot of textures or a lot of layering, I think, if that kind of makes sense, like it would be more difficult for the machine learning to pick up which background it should be replacing it with. Does that make sense? So say you had potted plants and flowers and something else and a wall and then a hedge. If you started to try to remove some of those potted areas, because there's so much happening, it struggles a bit to wonder, well, which part am I replacing it with? But for the 99% of things and 99% of things people would be removing, holy crap.
It sounds so like it's a poor man's Photoshop.
Yes.
Poor man's Photoshop. You can get stuff away. You don't have to spend an hour getting things just perfect to eliminate something, and that's pretty amazing. Now, the other question I had was about the camera bar on the back. I like that they've done something different. It looks unique. It's very definitive. You can say, oh, that's a Pixel phone. Is it awkward?
I haven't found it too awkward yet. What I like is here's where I would find it awkward. To me, you need a case, because it's ridged out. I wouldn't want to put it down this way, because like I'm so anal about stuff that like I wouldn't want to scuff the camera by accident, or and it's like supposed to be like Gorilla Glass, so but these cases do have the ridge, so it gives it a bit of a lip, so I can put it down. I still only put it on like softer surfaces because I'm so weird. But no, I think the biggest thing for me to get used to is the size, because you know, I'm coming from the 11 Pro. You know, like there's a huge difference. And then even with the 5A was like much smaller. Obviously this is a Pro device, but like, so for me, I think that was more the awkwardness, was holding it in my hands, and it's the thumbprint unlock is on the screen. So on the older models or on 5A, it's like back here, which was really nice because as you intuitively hold the phone, you would just unlock it with your back finger. This has taken me a bit of getting used to. I've seen some people posting videos on like if you leave your screen to like the always on or whatever, it's like a quicker response rate to unlock. They don't have the face unlock yet, which is one thing I would say, like that would be the next thing
with masks,
to do.
it's more complicated for sure with the face unlock. I have the on my Samsung. I've got the in-screen, and I'm so used to it. I used to put my finger on the back and do that, but the
just
in-screen
memory.
is, it's just a muscle memory thing, and it tends to work really well. That's interesting, because that's one thing I don't like about my Samsung S21 Ultra is the camera bump on the back. It's even with the case, it's still got a ridge. So when I put it, it doesn't matter when I put it down. Even with the case, it's not quite. It sort of works. It doesn't toggle too much, but I like the symmetry of what Google's done. It's really, but I thought it might be a little awkward or really thick or something, but it's probably just getting used to it.
And at least with having the bark all the way across the back, I've heard it doesn't rock as much.
Exactly.
It kind of stays put.
It's a smart idea.
And one of the reviews, Marquez Brownlee mentioned that because the ridges go all the way along and they're kind of at a 90-degree angle, they're not kind of tapered or curved at all in there, that it seems to be a little bit of a dust trap. So that is like in certain electronics designs, you see that. I've actually noticed that a little bit on my Apple Watch 6, which is different from my original Apple Watch from several years before that, is the sensor on the back. There's just a little bit. There's a little bit of crud can accumulate on there that didn't based on the previous one I had, just based on the shape of the sensor in the glass. So that's just another one of those little things. If you're you mentioned a little bit of the anal retention tendencies there, Tasha. So it's like cleaning all that. But if you have a case, maybe that becomes less of an issue for sure. So Will, as a longtime iPhone user, what are you curious about when it comes to these latest offerings from Google with the Pixel 6 Pro in this case specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I like the idea of, I know Jamie says this a lot, and I'm right with him. Having some options in the market is great. I love the fact that they have the cameras that seem to really be tapping into people who are maybe doing more social media or things like that, having some other options and editing in the screen. Me personally, I use my camera more as funsies. If I was going to do editing, I'd probably do it more on a computer with Photoshop and things like that. But it's nice to have the capabilities, and certainly there are people that are going to, I think, love the Pixel, and it's really great to have a competitor, and the stronger the market pushes everyone. So it's great to hear from Tasia and watch her video about. Plus, look how excited she is in those. It's gotta be
Red Bull. So extra.
And
no wonder I'm so tired now. So much energy all the time.
And one of the things we've talked about previously is how Google with the Pixel line is showing to some of the other Android OEMs or manufacturers out there that what some of the things that can be done, and just like Microsoft with the Surface lines of convertible laptops/tablets too. So when you have the people who are making the operating system showing you their vision of what devices could look like or do, it's always nice to have that perspective. So Tasia, are there any other standout features that maybe non-camera related that really spoke to you in your time with the Pixel 6 Pro so far?
Yeah, I think so. So they've done some updates to security. Well, okay, so let's back up. Besides Google Tensor, I don't want to spend too much time on that, but it really is quite the feat for Google because this was like their first, custom designed chip. I think they took about 4 years to make it. And their whole thing was they wanted to create, a chip that could focus on like the AI and the machine learning, but it had to be advanced enough to, perform at the level that Google wanted it to perform for on this flagship phone. So that's, I think, quite a feat too. And that's going to help with, faster performance, better battery life and stuff like that for users. And they're saying better, adaptability and gaming, and things like this, response rate, which users would definitely notice. I mean, we've all gotten so used to having a device in our hand, like any lag time now is like, oh God. So that's going to be a big thing. Security is something else that's good. They have a little security hub now where it's very similar, if anybody is like already kind of in the Google ecosystem, where you can do kind of like your security check all in one spot. It's basically like that, but on the device. So it's really easy and intuitive to use. You basically get a bunch of green check marks on everything, and it tells you if everything's kosher. It tells you if something, it's flagging something for you to review. You can pick and choose and customize which apps control your camera when. You can turn your mic on and off totally or individually, your mic and camera. So it's putting a bit more control in the user's hands, which I think people are probably going to appreciate. But then the other coolest thing that I think is another outside of the camera game changer that people are going to eat up, and I was like, mind blown, is the live translate and live caption. These are going to be it just takes like language to the next level, because like you guys know, we've talked a lot before about Google Translate, and I always use Google Translate, and like back in the day you'd have to like manually type it in, and then like you'd hit translate and then like pass it to the other person if you don't speak that language. But what they've done is built this just directly into the phone. So like you don't need to use Google Translate, you don't need to use another app. It works in like your messaging apps too. So if I'm messaging with my cousin in Italy, and she's on that device too, and I write my message out in English, she's going to get it in Italian. Then she's going to write it in Italian, and I'm going to receive it in English. Come on. Like, I'm going to freak out. Like, it's insane.
It better be good, because we don't want a war with the Italians.
No, I mean, it's insane.
That's a spicy meatball.
So it's just, and then the live translation where, their example was a lovely sit down with Marie Kondo. And, they were just speaking into the phone, and then you pass the phone, and then she would speak into the phone, and it would just immediately and fairly, like she was saying, was very accurate, would translate it out, for the other person. So I think those are going to be the other features that are really going to be like, people are going to be like, okay, like now I don't need to go to my Italian class anymore.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited that you got the opportunity to be to have early access to the Google 6 Pro. Now, to be clear, they didn't send you a regular 6, just the 6 Pro, correct?
Just the 6 Pro.
Okay, but maybe next time you'll get both, and the 6A next summer, maybe, if they keep that regular cadence going. And just one to a couple of points there. One, you mentioned the customizability of the settings, and I think Android 12 is definitely bringing a lot of that to the users. Android has always been really good in terms of having lots and lots and lots of settings for users. Now, to be fair, most average user can get overwhelmed by all that. So what they're doing with Android 12 and in the Pixel series is to, like you said, bring the most relevant settings together in one place, like the security hub that you mentioned, so that it's like, okay, here's the main things in a checklist format, rather than having to drill through down through all sorts of menus and like have a bunch of stuff that you barely even understand. So I think that's a great, from a user experience point of view, a good feature to have there. So believe it or not, there was some actual other smartphone news this week. Samsung had another Galaxy Unpacked event. It was Galaxy Unpacked Part 2. They had one event in September, and now they had one just last week. And it was kind of again, a little bit of house cleaning. They had the Galaxy Z Flip Bespoke Edition. So the Z Flip was, and the Z Fold 3 were announced earlier in the year. And now we've got more customizable ones with the different colors, and you can mix and match the panels and whatnot. Trying to be very fashion forward there, which is again, nice to see some variety. Some new Galaxy Watch 4 features, and Jamie will like this, with round watches that are
like
round.
them. I like them.
There you go. And some earbuds with I'm not familiar with. I've heard of them. Maison Kitsune, some specially designed earbuds with little fox logos on there. So again, not a ton of content there, but just like a little follow up and enhancements to some of the products that we have heard about, but different angle. Anyone have anything to add or observe on this? Again, Jamie being our official Samsung correspondent.
I just again, I will go back to the fact that I like how Samsung is providing uniqueness and creativity and different stuff to the marketplace, and stuff that I really wouldn't buy myself. I don't see a use case for it for me, but I'm not the everyday user necessarily, and I think for some people having this flip phone will be a status symbol. It's going to be kind of neat. It's the Star Trek communicator of old that you can actually use as a communicator. And now that's probably not the people that are going to be buying this, but it's fun and interesting and unique. And it's becoming this weird jockeying for status symbols in the marketplace these days. And I think that's where Samsung is trying to get to with something like these things. And that's just the nature of the business these days.
Well, I think part of it,
Jamie, I think the word that kids use is it's a flex.
Ooh.
Is that what the kids use,
That's
Will?
what they
Well,
say.
you would know. You would know, Will.
Yeah, weird flex, Will, but okay that you know that. So, I mean, one of the other aspects to this is that because so many smartphones have become very similar in their general look, it's like your black slab of glass and maybe some different, a different color choice on the back, whether it's plastic or glass. And sometimes, it's black on the back or dark gray, maybe silver. And there's been a few experiments from the various vendors. You get some greens, some blues. The Pixel, we've got some a yellow in there. Well, Samsung's taking this a step further, saying, you know what? You want colors? Here's all the colors. You can have multiple in one thing. And that's, again, addressing the customizability that some people crave, just to stand out from the crowd a little bit there. But Samsung weren't the only ones to announce stuff this week. We also had, I still have a soft spot. Sony Xperia Pro 1 is an $1,800 US dollars phone with a 1-inch camera sensor. And that's a big camera sensor on a smartphone, and they need a fair bit of depth there in order to actually, be able to get the light into that sensor. So with some lens trickery, but it's the same sensor found in the RX 100 Mark 7 camera, which is pretty powerful. I think it's a mirrorless camera from Sony. So Sony has been very strong in imaging for the last decade or so, especially after purchasing Konica Minolta's camera business, basically. And so they've been putting that into their own cameras, like the A7 DSLR line, and their mirrorless line, like the RX 100s and the ZV1s. But now this sort of amazing camera stuff, like actual optics with Zeiss lenses in a smartphone. But it's cheaper than the Xperia Pro, the previous generation, $2,500. So this one is $1,800 US, just a little bit more affordable. Will, I know that you have an appreciation for brands like iconic electronic brands like Sony. What do you think of this design and this market here for like the high end with the high end glass and sensor?
Well, the design looks like a periscope. I'm not digging the design, or it looks like something from Cyberpunk or something. I think the Pixel or the Galaxy phone, like, honestly, to your point a little bit earlier, Tristan, I think those are leading sort of design changes, making something look different. This is different, but not for the good, in my personation. It's not the worst, but I don't think it's super great. I have the latest Apple phone, but I don't like the sort of I don't know, what do you call it, the bazooka, the 4 quadrants or whatever.
The camera bump, yes,
The camera bump,
they're all
yeah.
getting huge and hideous everywhere.
Yeah,
So
the
there's only so
100
many ways you can do
There's
that.
only so many ways,
Yeah.
and like you say, it's a Zeiss lens. It's 4K at 120 frames, which is pretty crazy for something like that. I don't think I'd be buying one, but I love that they're doing that. And for some people, especially, reporters or photographers or people who are doing videography or something like that on the go, this would be a great, B camera or something good to capture some other footage, or a backup or something like that. I mean, it's pretty cool and pretty amazing that they've packed that much into a phone.
Yeah, they're really by having that 1-inch sensor, they're really catering to the sort of pro and prosumer camera enthusiasts, and it's a bit of a shot fired across the flagship phones from Apple and Samsung. There, the specs otherwise are pretty standard Android type specs: Snapdragon 888, 12 gigs of RAM, and 512 gigs of internal storage. You can add up to a terabyte of additional storage with a micro SD card. So if you're doing a lot of photos, especially videography, especially in 4K, then that built-in micro SD card slot is pretty handy. The battery is a 4,500 milliamp hour battery, which some people are thinking is like, I wish it was a little better, especially if you're doing a lot of shooting on there. But it does have fast charging capability, 50% in just 30 minutes there. Again, it's Sony has been making these Xperia phones for quite a while, but for some reason, they just don't seem to be cracking the market, at least not so much in North America. And maybe it's because they're largely, at least recently, going for the top tier. But good luck finding one of these from the mainstream carriers, like whether it's TELUS or Rogers or Fido and so on, and even in the States. So a lot of these are for the hardcore enthusiasts, and they would go be buying this from an electronics retailer, if Best Buy would carry it, or even direct. And now Google has finally cracked that nut with the Pixel line. For the longest time, they weren't getting much carrier support too, and they've finally done deals to get them into a lot more U.S. carriers, and you're going to see a lot more Pixel phones on the street. Not so much with this Sony one, I'm afraid. I like the idea of this, pushing the envelope in a different way, targeting a different sort of niche of the marketplace. Now, Tasia, do you shoot much on any of your smartphones for your videos, like aside from when you're testing a device for a video? But are you normally using your DSLR, or do you use your smartphone much for actual videography?
Both. So they tend to be my second or third cameras, like kind of like what Will was saying. So, or if like I'm in a pinch, or to be honest, if I just want to do something quick and dirty, and I'm like, crap, I forgot to get that B-roll of whatever. And if I have my 11 Pro with me, or if now I have like the Pixel 6 Pro, okay, and just grab it and do it real quick. And I do think the Pixel 6 Pro, it's better than my 11 Pro. And none of them are true 4K. Like, let's just call it what it is, which is fine because I don't shoot in that. But the Pixel has better stabilization features in it a little bit, and plus I can do that in post too if I need to. But yeah, as my second and third cameras, I don't do a lot of on-camera stuff with it. I've used the 11 Pro for a shoot to do like a talking head interview as my second camera. It was okay. Nobody knew. I knew the difference in the quality, but nobody else knew.
Well,
Can I just something quickly about 4K is that on serious cameras like Reds, Blackmagics, Canons, Sonys, it churns through batteries, especially at 120. I can only imagine what that would do on a phone.
Oh.
So I haven't tested this, I haven't tried it, but you do need a good battery if you're going to be shooting
100%.
4K.
Or you just have the cord sticking out the bottom and plugged into a power bank in your back pocket there. That looks super pro. So if we can't interest any of you in any of the latest offerings from Samsung or Sony, can I interest you in a Nokia 20th anniversary edition of the 6310 brick phone?
Yes.
And it's on sale from the Nokia website for only 60
Please.
pounds. It has a 2.8-inch screen as opposed to the 1.8-inch screen of the original. And I'll just show it to you here. And inquiring minds want to know, yes, it does play Snake. So any Nokia fans out there that want to live life like it's 2001, great year. Nothing bad happened then.
Oh, wow.
Oh, too soon.
There you go. Look at this. So here's the original and the new one. So it's got actual numeric keypads. So good luck texting with that. It's back to the old T9.
Oh, T9. Days. Yeah. Awesome.
Bring on the repetitive stress injuries in that right thumb. Nice. But again, kind of neat. Feature phone, a cheap option. Not everyone in the world wants or needs a smartphone. Good luck getting your vaccine QR code on the screen. But that's
challenge accepted.
There we go. So just now, and speaking of retro, there was a Cable Sasser from Panic, which is a long-time Apple software developer from the 90s. They actually had developed some MP3 software that was a contender to be the base for iTunes. They had a program called Audion, and as it turns out, Apple went a different way. They bought one called SoundJam MP from a different developer, and then used that as the base for iTunes, which then later just more recently evolved into the Apple Music app. But Panic is also the co-developer like on the software side, along with Teenage Engineering on the hardware side of the Playdate, which is the yellow device with the crank that we've talked about a couple of times in the past here, that Jamie really wants because he wants a device with a crank on it. But Cable Sasser in his blog just recently shared some photos of an iPod prototype, a development prototype that's almost the size of a laptop, that shows just the kind of lengths that Apple would go to separate their hardware development from their software development, to keep people in different teams kind of in the dark. So if anything leaked, people would only see so much. So here is their version of the original click wheel. And they've got with the up, down, left, and right being in separate buttons, a tiny little screen there for the interface, and they managed to rip it open and see that it had the small motherboard there just in this big case, the battery pack, and so on. But it's sort of a neat glimpse into history for this iPod, which just had its 20th anniversary last week. And then you can see the relative size here of the original iPod versus this development prototype, which is kind of comical. So just a little trip down memory lane. And again, gotta love yellow because Playdate's coming next year. So let's wrap up here. And Tasia, you have one more little video that maybe you could tell us about. 2 videos in 1 week. We got bonus Tasia, plus you're here live with us, so it's super bonus Tasia. So again, you're selling your soul for you're selling your soul, for rock and roll and robot vacuums here. Here's another. This is another sponsored.
It was another sponsored video.
So, yeah,
I know.
So tell us
I did 2 sponsors in a row.
Oh,
I'm gonna lose everybody. I know.
Go get that money, girl.
That timing, yeah.
So so tell us about how this came to be and what your overall impressions of this device that you were looking at.
Oh yeah, so I tested 2 different Shark robot vacuums, and they reached out to me, and they wanted me to test these 2 vacuums. So I put my little Roomba. I feel so bad. I had to put her aside. I've had her for many years, and I was like, "I'm sorry, girl." Like putting her out to pasture.
I thought you were gonna say put it down.
I feel like I was. You unplug her, and you're like, "Oh God, I'm so sorry."
You have to promise us if you do put it down, you have to do it live on air.
Yes. Poor girl. So I tested them both, and one is like a self-empty vacuum, and I was, again, pretty honest in the review where at the time I did it, I only had it for a week. So like they claim that you may not have to like empty it for like up to 60 days. And I'm like, I guarantee you the cat and dog hair and this in this house. So I actually just peeked at it today, and I told everybody in the video, I'm going to like update the description. I'm going to comment as I have it, like 30 days, 60 days, 90 days on. I'm like 2.5 weeks in, and it's almost full. So I'm gonna have to see how much more I could just squeeze out of that. But I'm happy with it. My one knock with the self-empty one is it's got this notch on the top, that one there for the shark, and it won't fit under my freaking furniture because of that notch. Why would they design it like that? That's the LiDAR technology, and it's going to map out this. But the smaller one, which is a shark vacuum and mop in one, the VACMOP, which I just call Sharky Mop, that one's a slimmer profile. So that one fits under the furniture nicely, and you can just run it like a regular vacuum anyway, and it's cheaper. So, you know, I'm very cheap. So I would probably, if I was buying one, would have gone with a smaller one purely to fit under my furniture. Because, like, I ain't vacuuming under my bed, okay? Just to tell you, like, I don't vacuum under my bed. The Roomba does it, but now Sharky has to do it. It is a big jump, though. Like, my Roomba was not Wi-Fi enabled, you guys. I was living old school, okay? She wasn't smart. Love her. But she would start going in all these directions and, like, wouldn't go back to the dock and, like, didn't know where the heck she was. These are Wi-Fi enabled. They have great apps. They map your whole house. So they get, like, an exact layout, and then you could just, like, send it to the room you want. So I could, like, go to the bathroom or go in here, and 9 times out of 10 it goes to the right room.
Po Buddy's Nerfect.
Exactly.
So what's your final verdict on the two then? For, like, who are these for? Who would you recommend them for?
Anybody like me that's a pet owner, because they've got different brushes. That was the other difference is, like the fins that they're calling these brushes are supposed to be better for hair. Because the one that's on my old Roomba, I mean, I can't even tell you how many times we've had that thing flipped upside down, and we are trying to pull hair from every direction of those brushes. So, and not the side brushes you see there; those are like the same, but the ones underneath. So it's really good for pet hair for sure. Either one. I really had a hard time deciding. Probably the slimmer one I would have gone with because of A, the price, B, slimmer profile, C, fits under my furniture. But I mean, I'm not going to complain. I like not having an empty one every single day either. So, but yeah, they're also a lower price point than a lot of the Roombas. So if it's somebody that, you know, wants some help around the house, because I say in the video, like, no robot's going to change your life in terms of, like, you're never going to vacuum or mop again. But I only have to do it once a week now, as opposed to if I didn't have one running. This hair is insane in this house. Like, truly, I would be vacuuming 3 to 4 times a week to try to keep it down. It's nuts. So most of it's mine. So, like,
but the burning question is, have they, like the Roomba, some of the Roomba series, updated their AI to detect and avoid animal poop on the floor so they don't smear it across the floor? That was a recent innovation in the Roomba series. You should test that for us and do a video.
I should test that because I know that they do like carpet detection. I know they do carpet detection. The VACMOP does, but I don't think it does poop detection.
All right, there's only one way to find out, Tasia. We look forward to it.
But hey, if it's a VACMOP, it'll just mop it up.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Are we done yet?
We'll have like a slurry. All right. Speaking of poop, there's one little thing that I skipped over and realized I had put it in the description for the live events. We can't actually skip over. It's going to be super quick. If anyone out there is interested in using Facebook like it's 2008, this is not a new tip, but it seems to have been rediscovered. There's a recent article in Wired how you can use the Facebook without the algorithm. And basically, there is an option in the Facebook interface to go and flip it so that you see your posts from people you know and pages you've liked and people groups you're a member of, to see those updates in reverse chronological order, kind of like the olden days before all these social platforms started adding algorithms to everything to show you the types of things they think you'll like based on your previous engagements, whether it's reactions or comments or shares and whatnot. So this interesting article in Wired that we'll include a link in the show notes about how life can be different for you and how it was for this one particular writer. And it's interesting because you see a lot more stuff that's not as interesting or relevant to you, but at least so you might have to scroll some more, and it may actually encourage you to maybe unfollow some pages or leave some groups, and take control of your feed again, rather than just seeing the kinds of things that Facebook wants you to engage with, either by shocking you, horrifying you, enraging you, engaging your emotions, and all those manipulative ways to keep you stuck on the platform to get those ad views. So as part of that, there's a link in the article to actually that you can bookmark in your web browser, so that you can go directly to that chronological feed, because every time you change it and you log out of Facebook and back in, even on the app, it'll switch you back to the algorithmic feed. So you got to do this every time. So if you're on a desktop app, or if you're using the web browser in your mobile device as opposed to the Facebook app, you can use this link and it'll always take you to the chronological feed. For those people who still remember bookmarking, that was a thing. So yeah, check it out and see what you think there. It's a very different experience for sure when you are looking like the old days, the reverse chronological feed. So you all got your homework. Thank you so much, Jamie, for joining us once again. Tasia, great to have you back. And Will, as always, you're the the record holder. Only one missed so far. And we will be back next week, hopefully with Ged Smythe. We're going to talk about movies. If you want to learn more about us here at Momentous, you can visit our website, momentous.tv, twitter.com/momentous.tv, facebook.com/momentous.tv, instagram.com/momentous.tv. And on YouTube, you can search my name, find the Momentous playlists there, and visit our page and subscribe there. Please subscribe. That'd be great. Thanks very much. And Will, Tasia, Jamie, and everyone else watching, all three of you, including Mom, I hope your week is truly momentous.